to Israel Metropolitan CME, formerly Israel Bethel Church. The song you just heard is a combined choir. It's the combined choir of Israel Metropolitan CME Church and Metropolitan AME Church. These are two churches that have a very close relationship. Israel Metropolitan Church is the first free and independent Black church in the city of Washington, D.C. We were founded in 1820. 1820, slavery still existed in this country. There was still slavery in the nation's capital. Israel was founded the same year of the Missouri Compromise, which left half of the country enslaved and half of the country free. It was the forces of the Missouri Compromise as well as faith that allowed those founders in 1820 to come together and do what had not been done before. What they did in 1820 was to establish a church where you had a Black pastor and you had a Black governance that did not exist in the city of Washington, D.C. before this church was established. Most of the parishioners in that first church came from Ebenezer. This was a predominantly white church in the city that had Black and white, but the treatment that the Blacks were receiving was so disparate that the Blacks decided that it was time for a change. And that change is what is known now, 200 years later, as Israel Metropolitan CME, formerly Israel Bethel Church. The first pastor of this church was David Smith. He became the first Black pastor in the city of Washington, D.C. Our connection after our independence founding was with the AME Church. The first bishop of our church was Richard Allen. This was the time when the independent church movement was taking place. It had happened in Philadelphia, happened in Washington. Matter of fact, they had an independent church in South Carolina, Charleston. This church is important because this is the occasion of the celebration of two things for the Washington Bar Association. Washington Bar Association has its founding lecture today, and it also celebrates the awarding of meritorious recognition to individuals who have done significant things in advancing the cause of justice and also enhancing the image of the Washington Bar Association, its member, and its mission. Since Ollie Mae Cooper was a member of this church, we wanted to use her vision of what it is that she was a part of when she was still here with us. When she was a part of this church, she was a very significant individual. Not only was she doing significant things in the law school, Howard Law School, but she was a Sunday school teacher here, you know? Where did she find time in those times in the 1920s to devote herself to Sunday school teaching? She did it in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. She did it up until her death in 1981. But the history of the church also gives us a chance to still looking back to a time when there was no Black lawyers, there were no Black preachers, there were no Black churches, there were no Black professionals as we know it today. Slavery was rampant. These individuals found a way to come together, and that coming together is what we are celebrating during the bicentennial of Israel. Among those founders, you have individuals who gave us the first school in the District of Columbia that sought to educate Blacks. You have among those founders a person who was born a slave on George Washington Plantation, William Costin. His mother was the half sister of Martha Washington. William Costin, after he was emancipated following the death of George Washington and Martha Washington, was a very prominent figure here in Washington, D.C. And since we are a group of lawyers, Ollie Mae Cooper was a lawyer. This is the Ollie Mae Cooper Awards ceremony as well as the Founders Lecture. It's important to know that in 1821, William Costin did something that let us know that the struggle for equal justice did not start in 1920. It did not start in the 1950s. But in 1820, there were things in existence in this city called black codes. And one of the black codes that existed specifically provided that in 1821, when this code was put into effect, that any black person who were free and was in the District of Columbia, in order for you to remain in the District of Columbia, you had to have 3 white persons to sign affidavit vouching that you were a person of good character. You also had to pay, you had to register with the mayor, and you had to pay a fine of $25. If you did not pay that fine or that fee, if you did not have 3 white folks to vouch for you, and you were black and free in Washington, D.C., you had to leave the city. William Costin decided that that's not fair. He's free, and he should be treated the way free white persons were treated. He filed one of the first civil rights lawsuits in the city of Washington, D.C., challenging that unlawful black code that said you had to have 3 white persons to vouch for you, you got to pay this fee, and you have to register with the mayor in order to remain in the city. He took this case to trial, and the result was that individually he won relief. The judge ruled, Judge Krantz ruled that Mr. Costin did not have to register, did not have to pay the $25 fee, and he did not have to have 3 white persons vouch for him. The reason being is because he was in the city before that black code was passed. So anybody that was in the city before that black code was passed, it did not apply to those. But any blacks that was free and coming to the city after that code was in effect, they had to pay that fine, they had to register, and they had to have 3 whites. One of the early pastors of our church was Daniel Payne. Daniel Payne wrote an autobiography, and in his autobiography, he talked about the pain and the humiliation of being a free person in the nation's capital, and he had to register, he had to pay that fee, and he had to get white folks to vouch that he was a person of good character in order to remain in the city. This church history is rich with those type of stories. It's not like reading all of the stuff that you see and you hear, and it doesn't contextualize the struggle of our people. The history of this church tells that story individually, year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation. And one of the highlights of this celebration is we decided that we were going to reach back, we were going to tell that history, and we were going to tell that history with the clearness and the truthfulness that it deserved. And then came COVID. It brought a halt to all of the programs that we had engaged in and that we had continually hoped to engage in for the remainder of the year. So the Ollie Cooper Awards program with the Washington Bar Association gives us another opportunity to continue to tell that story. Ollie Cooper, as I mentioned earlier, was a Sunday school teacher in this church. And as a Sunday school teacher, she has a pupil who went on and became a lawyer. And I'm going to ask Joseph Clark, who is an attorney in the city of Washington, D.C., member of this church, and was a pupil of Ollie Cooper, to come up and give us a few reflections on his relationship and memory of our honored church member, Ollie Cooper. Joe.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Clark. Miss Cooper was my Sunday school teacher. I never knew her as an attorney, at least not while I was a student here at Israel. She was a very warm, very caring person. She had a group of boys. We were running, I guess, the ages of 7 through 10. She called us her boys, and we were. And she managed us. We were kind of, we would get into things, and we wouldn't be doing the things that you should be doing around the church, but Mrs. Cooper would keep us in line. She was also a very thoughtful person, very caring person. I say that because in the third grade, I participated in the spelling bee at my elementary school, right here, Raymond Elementary School. Won the spelling bee at Raymond, went on to the regionals, and the pronouncer gave me a word that I knew and I should have known, a very easy word, but it was the way that, at least in my mind, the way she pronounced the word. The word was gift. And I thought, or at least I believed what the pronouncer said was gith. And so, having learned to reason out words, I said, but she didn't say gift, she said gith. And I spelled it the way I heard it. And so I spelled G-I-T-H, but eliminated, crushed. Very easy word, shouldn't have happened. Came back that Sunday, I told Mrs. Cooper my story, and she said, Joseph, and I told her I wasn't going back because I was just not going to go through that anymore. And she said, Joseph, yes, you are. And we're going to help you. We're going to help prepare you. And because what you should have done, you should have asked the person to use the word in a sentence. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could ask questions. So the next time around in the fourth grade, I went a lot further than I did at that particular time. The other interesting thing I think I'd like to mention about Mrs. Cooper during those days was that we didn't know that she was an attorney. We never heard her referred to as Attorney Cooper. I know when I finished law school and passed the bar, came back here, and the media, I think they would say Attorney Clark, Attorney Bell, but I never heard anyone refer to Ms. Cooper as Attorney Cooper. I didn't know. It wasn't until 1974, Van Ness campus, I was strolling down the hallways there. There were pictures of the elite from the school, and there was a picture of Ms. Cooper, Attorney Ollie Mae Cooper. That's when I learned that she was an attorney. I went back, I asked some of my friends here at Israel, did you know that Ms. Cooper was an attorney? No, not until later. Didn't know at the time that we were having class. So I don't know why that was. I don't know if it was just the culture of the day or why she was never referred to as an attorney, but she was a humble person, but she taught us how to get up. Me being very shy, she pushed me and made it more comfortable for me to stand up in front of an audience to speak, and I'm sure she did that for other students as well. Thank you so much.
We'll now hear very briefly from the pastor and then the president of the Washington Bar Association.
Greetings and welcome to Israel Metropolitan CME Church, where our church is steeped in so much history. We would be here all night to tell you all about it. Along with Miss Ollie Mae Cooper, we have another attorney that some of you might have known. I'm sure you've heard of his family. That's George W. Haley. We probably know his brother even more, Alex Haley, but attorney George Haley, a very serious member of our church, hailed from Henning, Tennessee, along with Miss Ollie Mae Cooper, who was also from Tennessee. Attorney Haley was the first Black elected official to the Kansas State, Senate. He moved to Washington, D.C. in 1969 and was appointed the ambassador to the Gambia shortly thereafter. I had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Haley and Attorney Haley and accompanied him on various occasions to functions where I met all types of celebrities. He was a very stalwart member of our church, along with Attorney Ollie Mae Cooper. So we're just happy that we have so much history here, and we'd like for you to know that not only were the both of them from Tennessee, but our denomination started in Tennessee. So we have a very rich history here, and we're very happy tonight that one of our members is the namesake of the award that's going to be, the awards that's going to be giving out tonight, the Ollie Mae Cooper Awards. And both of these persons were, again, stalwart members of our church. And we are so proud that they represent you in the Washington Bar Association as great members and great attorneys, as we have heard thus far. God bless you.
Good evening. On behalf of the Washington Bar Association, I'd like to give congratulations to the Israel Metropolitan Church for 200 years of building our souls and our country from this church right here in the nation's capital. And I mean that also as a Washingtonian, I'm very proud of you. I want to thank you for allowing the Washington Bar Association to celebrate this historic event with you. And we wish you all much success in the next 200 years. Thank you. Good evening again. My name is Tony Towns, and I am the 51st president of the Washington Bar Association. We are the oldest affiliate of the National Bar Association, both organizations created in 1925. On behalf of our board of directors and membership, I welcome you to the 42nd annual presentation of the Ollie Mae Cooper Awards and 40th Founders Lecture. The Ollie Mae Cooper Award is presented each year to a Washington Bar Association member who exhibits outstanding service, leadership, and whose body of work enhances the image of the legal community at large. Tonight, I speak to you from Ollie Mae Cooper's church, the Israel Metropolitan CME, which is celebrating its bicentennial anniversary. Yes, the church has been in existence for 200 years. Congratulations to Reverend Dr. Ricky D. Helton and the congregation of Israel Metropolitan CME Church, and thank you for allowing the Washington Bar Association to be a part of this historic milestone. Tonight, we honor three long-standing legends in the legal community and the fight for equal justice. I am excited to preside over this awards ceremony because, like many of you, I've had the opportunity to witness the accomplishments of each of the awardees and our lecturer. When I think of Ollie Mae Cooper, the following words come to mind: courage, tenacity, and perseverance. Imagine the amount of courage, tenacity, and perseverance it took for Attorney Cooper to not only become the first African-American woman to open her own law firm, but to also practice law at a high level for over 40 years. Now, these are the same qualities that our lecturer, Ben Crump, and our awardees this evening, Bill Robinson, Elaine Jones, and Charles Ogletree, also possess. And congratulations to each of them, and thank you for your service. Now, I want to say something about the issues going on today and how we all should show the same courage, tenacity, and perseverance. While we all are shocked, dismayed, and even depressed at the current pandemic and social injustices currently making headlines, it is not enough for us to simply express moral outrage. It is not enough for us to express righteous indignation. It is not enough for us to look elsewhere for a solution. We owe it to our forefathers and the children of the future to show the same courage, tenacity, and perseverance as each of our awardees tonight. So we must do more, do the uncomfortable, do what is required to effect change. At such a time as this, ambivalence is not an option. Action is not just required, action is demanded. Last vote, November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I will give a brief call to commemoration. Picking up where Tony, our president, left off, there's a lot we are being called tonight to commemorate. But what I would like to do with this call to commemoration is first to tell all of you who are listening beyond the walls of this church that you can find on the Washington Bar website a printed copy of tonight's program. It's a souvenir program, so you go to washingtonbar.org and you can see the printed program. We are called today to look at this world not with the vision of simply a 1925 founding of the Washington Bar Association. We are called today to put on the lenses of Ollie Mae Cooper and look at the world the way she looked at the world for being a part of a church that today is celebrating its 200th anniversary. But as we look back, we must see the struggles, we must see the successes, we must see the failures, and we must continue to strive for equal justice under law. 2020, we lost 3 great giants who were part of the Washington Bar tradition. We lost 3 Charles Hamilton Houston Medallion recipients. We lost Joseph Harrison. Joseph, when he died this year, was in his 90s, and he made every meeting. He came out to everything that had anything to do with the Washington Bar Association, any program that was being sponsored. Joe Harrison was there. We also lost John Lewis. John Lewis, probably one of the most courageous individuals this country has ever seen. He spent his life trying to make sure that everyone had a fair and equal opportunity to vote and to enjoy the American dream. But John Lewis, in 2020, when he died, the Voting Rights Act that he gave so much to had been gutted, essentially, by a ruling in 2013 by the Supreme Court. We also commemorate Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. Ms. Ginsburg was also a recipient of the Charles Hamilton Houston Medallion of Merit. If you pick up with the life's work of John Lewis fighting for that Voting Rights Act, one of the most significant decisions that moved me about Ruth Bader Ginsburg was her dissent in the case of Shelby County versus Holder. And in that case, she made it clear that the court was moving backwards. So what we're going to ask tonight before we move to the remainder of the program is that you take one moment and remember the lives of Joe Harrison, John Lewis, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thank you. With that call to commemoration, we now move to the invocation.
May we bow our heads. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever, we pray, in the path we pray. Thank you, God, for leading us to this place tonight as we all witness the Washington Bar Association's 40th Annual Founders Lecture Series. We thank you for Ollie Mae Cooper, who was a great loyal member of this church. May the honorees tonight embody her spirit as they carry her torch into the future. Bless the leaders of this group that they may continue to represent the values and ideals that the Washington Bar Association advocates. Amen.
We now have a musical selection by the Israel Metropolitan CME Choir.
Isn't that nice, Papa?
Stormy the road we trod, bitter the dance we saw, felt in the streets where song our Lord has sung, yet with the steady sing, another sing our song, to the sing our song, the sing our song. We have come, oh we have come, tears have been watered, oh we have come, treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered, out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the bright gleam of our bright star is cast.
We're about to now move into a different part of the program. This is the part where we get greetings. And this is greetings from the bench. And that will be followed by greetings from the broader community and the nation. We have greetings from the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. It's going to be from the Chief Judge. We'll have greetings from the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, from the Chief Judge. We'll have greetings from the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, from the Chief Judge. And we will have greetings from the Chief Judge of the DC Office of Administrative Hearings. Following the hearings from the bench, we will have greetings from the Howard University School of Law. We have greetings from the Attorney General for the District of Columbia, and greetings from the National Bar Association.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chief Judge Beryl Howell, and on behalf of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, I'm honored to join you for the presentation of the 2020 Ollie Mae Cooper Award and the Founders Day Lecture. Of course, we all wish we could be together in person, but I am delighted that the Washington Bar Association is proceeding with this important annual event, notwithstanding our challenging times. Thank you to the Washington Bar Association for the important work this organization does, supporting our legal community in the cause of justice in Washington, D.C. I'd also like to recognize the association's president for 2020 through 21, Tony Towns, who began his illustrious legal career as a judicial law clerk to one of my colleagues, Judge Reggie Walton, when Judge Walton served as a D.C. Superior Court judge. I wish President Towns all the best as he figures out creative ways to navigate the restrictions forced by the pandemic to further WBA's initiative. Speaking from some experience over the last 8 months, guiding the district court, patience, flexibility, and vigilance are required. I also want to extend my warm greetings to my fellow Chief Judges, Chief Judge Anna Blackburn-Rigsby and Chief Judge Anita Josie Herring. My sincere congratulations to Elaine Jones, Professor Charles Ogletree, and William Robinson as this year's recipients of the prestigious Ollie Mae Cooper Award. All of them are extremely accomplished members of our legal community who've made important contributions throughout their careers in a variety of areas, including equal rights, civil rights, human rights, voting rights, and access to justice. I'd like to commend all three on their well-deserved recognition this evening. And finally, congratulations to Benjamin Crump, tonight's keynote speaker for the Founders Lecture. You have crisscrossed the country speaking out about racial injustice, and we are lucky to have you here tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing your remarks. So please enjoy the evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening. I am Chief Judge Anna Blackburn-Rigsby from the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, and it is my honor and pleasure to bring greetings to the Washington Bar on this wonderful occasion of the Ollie Mae Cooper Award and Lecture Series. This is one of the events of the Washington Bar that I enjoy each and every year. And I have to confess, I usually enjoy it, especially because it's at my alma mater, Howard University School of Law. And I'd like to say hello to the dean who's with us. And so I'm sorry we won't be there together this evening, but I really enjoyed the historical recognition of Israel, formerly Israel Bethel, Israel Metropolitan CME Church. I think is so important to remember our history. And we see that especially now during these unprecedented times that we find ourselves in. I want to thank the Washington Bar for their efforts throughout the decades since its inception to always keep us focused on the prize, and that is equal justice under law. And these unprecedented times of a pandemic and renewed racial unrest in our country remind us all that we have to take this opportunity, particularly as members of the legal profession, to redouble our commitment to ensuring equal justice under law for everyone. I want to say a special congratulations to each of the dynamic and inspirational awardees. Professor Charles Ogletree, who many of us affectionately refer to as Tree, for the many, many, many young lawyers and older lawyers and judges that he has mentored, and for the Racial Justice Institute, the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Racial Justice that he founded at Harvard Law School. The work that they continue is so vitally important today. To my friend and colleague, William, or Bill Robinson, as we call you. Bill, thank you for all that you do and continue to do to serve this city and your country with your profession through the Washington Bar, the National Bar, and many other organizations. And I was proud to appoint you to the District of Columbia Access to Justice Commission. So thank you for your service. And Elaine Jones, one of my sheroes in the law, fierce warrior for equal justice and a fellow church member. It's always, always a pleasure to hear from you. And I'm so proud that you're receiving this award this evening. And to Ben Crump, our lecturer and awardee this evening, thank you for all you do as a crusader and advocate for civil rights and equal justice. And particularly now, more than ever, we need you and we need to support your work at this important time. With that, I also want to say a special hello to my fellow Chief Justices. We just heard from Chief Justice Howell, and I am excited to be working now with our new Chief Judge of the DC Superior Court, Chief Judge Anita Josie Herring, and to the Chief Judge of the Office of Administrative Hearings. Congratulations to you as well. Thank you all, and may we continue to roll up our sleeves and do what needs to be done to ensure equal justice under law. And President Tony Towns, thank you. To our National Bar Association President, CK Hoffler, thank you, CK. I'm glad you'll be joining us. Attorney General Racine, and the many other luminaries who are participating and joining us this evening. Thank you all.
Hi, this is Chief Judge Anita Josie Herring. I have recently assumed this position, and I'm so thankful to be invited by the Washington Bar Association and its members and other members of the bar who are participating in this event to give greetings on behalf of the judges and staff of the DC Superior Court. This is a great event, and I have attended it on many occasions. And I, again, thank you so much for including our court. On this particular year, as you have your 40th annual celebration of the Ollie Mae Cooper Award, it's so exciting to see and to know that you're celebrating really so many people who have contributed so much to improving our society and advancing justice. I want to congratulate the Ollie Mae Cooper Award recipients, Bill or William Roberts. Congratulations to you for all you do and have done in the past, as Chief Judge Blackburn-Rixby said, as you continue to do serving on the Access to Justice Commission. But I also want to say I'm so excited to celebrate, as she has been celebrated many times for her great work, Elaine Jones, a real civil rights advocate who's been in the trenches for many, many decades. And of course, I want to congratulate Professor Ogletree, who is a dear friend and former colleague of mine from the DC Public Defender. And I just want to thank him for all the work he's done to inspire so many of us to commit our careers and hearts to improving this country and the plight of all, and also minorities in particular. And as to Mr. Ben Crump, of course, you are well known. And so it's wonderful to know that you're the Founders Day lecture tonight. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And I want to just say this is such an inspiring event because it reminds us of the sacrifices that so many have made for us to assume or have the positions that we have. And we understand it's our duty to continue to contribute to the cause of advancing justice. And for that, we thank all of the recipients and we thank our Founders Day lecture. I also want to say hello to the fellow judges, Judge Beryl Howell of the U.S. District Court, and of course, Judge Anna Blackburn Rigsby for all the work that they have done to improve justice. I want to thank them, but I want to express or convey greetings to them as well. And so with that, I know we're going to have a fabulous event here tonight celebrating these worthy recipients. And to all of the other distinguished guests, I bring greetings again from the Superior Court. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Carroll. Thank you for the invitation to speak today. I wanted to congratulate all of the recipients of the Ollie Mae Cooper Award on behalf of the 33 judges that comprise the DC Office of Administrative Hearings. We are a court that believes that we are also advancing the justice on behalf of residents and businesses in the District of Columbia and surrounding community for any disputes, of course, that they have with the District of Columbia government. We are a small body of adjudicators who firmly believe that everyone should have their fair hearing and their fair say. And like many of the awardees tonight, we hope that we can follow in their footsteps in advancing justice in a way that is meaningful for everyone in the community. I am also glad to be a part of this program. I am the interim chief judge administrative of the Office of Administrative Hearings, and also newly appointed to my position. We are very happy and wish greetings to all of the members of the Israel CME Church, as well as all of the remaining award recipients, including William Robinson, Elaine Jones, and Charles Ogletree, and of course, Ben Crump for the lecture. So I don't want to stand in the way of a beautiful program. So thank you again for the invitation, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Hello, good evening. My name is Danielle Holly Walker. I'm the Dean of Howard University School of Law, and I am thrilled to be with you here tonight and to bring you greetings on behalf of the entire Howard University School of Law community, faculty, staff, students, and of course our distinguished alumni, some of whom you just heard from this evening. We hope, and it is my greatest hope, that this time next year we will all be together again in the Howard University School of Law building to be able to celebrate the Ollie Mae Cooper Awards as we traditionally do. But it has been a real pleasure and honor to hear and to see where Ollie Mae Cooper attended church at Israel Metropolitan. And so I'm very grateful for that setting tonight. I want to give greetings to President Towns and to the entire leadership of the Washington Bar Association. And I always like to take a few moments to really celebrate Ollie Mae Cooper and her role at Howard University School of Law. Ollie Mae Cooper was a magna cum laude graduate, 1921 graduate of the law school. She was a founder of our legal sorority at Howard University School of Law, Epsilon Sigma Iota, or ESI as we like to call it. J. Clay Smith famously said that she was known around the law school as the right secretary of the dean, but she was much, much more than that. And of course, she taught for many years voluntarily as a faculty member at the law school, and she was also known as the unofficial Howard University School of Law historian. She's known to be only the 13th woman to graduate from Howard University School of Law. And of course, now about 70% of our students at the law school are women. Ollie Mae Cooper really laid the groundwork for so much of what we do at the law school, and we are eternally grateful for her work and her legacy. I want to extend congratulations to the founder's lecturer, Benjamin Crump, who is of course a champion for justice. And we see him all over the country really lifting up the families of individuals who have been killed due to police violence. And we want to celebrate him as the founder's lecturer. And of course, I have to extend my congratulations to the 2020 Ollie Mae Cooper Award recipients, to Bill Robinson, and to someone who is also one of my sheroes who I've admired for a very long time, Elaine Jones. It is so wonderful to see you, even if it is virtually, to see you tonight and to celebrate your incredible record of civil rights litigation. You are a champion and someone who inspires our students today and an entire new generation of civil rights attorneys. I have to give a special greeting to my professor, to Professor Charles Ogletree, who taught me in my first year of law school and continues to be one of the most important models that I have for my own teaching and mentoring of students. I could not be more honored to be here tonight to see Professor Ogletree receive one of the 2020 Ollie Mae Cooper Awards. I look forward to the program and hope that all of you have an outstanding evening. Thank you very much.
Hello, my brothers and my sisters. My name is Carl Racine, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the Attorney General for the District of Columbia. I'm grateful to the Washington Bar Association for inviting me to kick off the 42nd ceremony for the Ollie Mae Cooper Award. The Office of Attorney General is a proud partner of the Washington Bar Association for all they do in the community and all they do to support lawyers of color. Indeed, we've worked together on bringing pressing matters to the forefront of legal discussions, such as our recent panel focusing on the state of policing in Black America. I'm especially proud of my office's very own Tony Towns, who plays a critical role in our office's civil rights section, where we're bringing important litigation on behalf of vulnerable DC residents. And Tony's commitment to the cause doesn't stop there. He's also, as many of you know, serves as WBA's president, ensuring other lawyers have the support they need to also advance this work. And I gotta tell you, in addition to Tony and I, WBA has many fierce supporters at the Office of Attorney General, including Akua Kapak, Linda Monroe, Richard Wilson, Stefan Woods, OAG alum, starting with Chief Judge of the DCCA, Anna Blackburn Rigsby, and Superior Court Judge, the Honorable Robert Rigsby, as well as our good friend, Eric Glover. I'm glad to be with you today because, as you all well know, the country is going through a challenging but riveting period of change right now. If the chaos we've endured this year wasn't proof enough, then the first presidential debate showed the precariousness of this moment. But make no mistake, the eyes of the American people are wide open. And what have they seen? They've seen the loss of prominent heroes like Congressman John Lewis and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and others who've paved the way for our progress. They've seen our Black brothers and sisters killed at the hands of law enforcement and other hateful individuals. They've seen a national leader who cannot bring himself to forcefully condemn white supremacy. What's so hard about that? They've also seen a multi-generational, multi-ethnic, and multi-geographic movement calling for long overdue reckoning and the respect that Black lives also matter. And that's why this moment, and indeed this award, is so important. It's a reminder that not only do we stand on the shoulders of giants, but also that our work continues in corporate America, in the classroom, as well as the courtroom. The times may have changed, but the cause remains the same. Indeed, we've entered a new civil rights era. And it's because of the Washington Bar Association's support and work to advance civil rights champions that we know this progress will march on. At a time when we see so much injustice in our country, when it's easy to despair at the scope of our challenges, I'm here to tell you that we can see the way forward when we look to our heroes from before and to the heroes rising now. Today's movement will succeed not only because we have sound leadership, but because we have talent, energy, and commitment from everyday people who want to make our country better. And as members of the legal community, we have a special obligation, as I know Charles Hamilton Houston would emphasize, to use our skills, our talents, and our resources to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. God bless the Washington Bar Association.
Good evening. My name is C.K. Hoffler, and I'm the proud president of the National Bar Association. I want to first thank Tony Towns, the president of the Washington Bar Association, one of our affiliate chapters, one of our most robust affiliate chapters. And I've known Tony since he was in law school because he was a year behind me at Georgetown Law. Just like I've known Chief Justice Anita Josie. We called her Anita Josie, but Anita Josie Herring, who's the Chief Justice, who was in my class in law school. So I salute you too. I wanted to recognize Akua Kapak, who is my chief of staff for the National Bar Association, for her tremendous work and all that she's done for this program. And to the distinguished awardees who are members of the National Bar. Bill Robinson, who I've known since I was a baby lawyer 30 years ago, because I started my practice in DC, who was a trailblazer and someone that we all looked up to. Elaine Jones, the first of the first of the first, one of the Black women who we all saluted and respected and knew that we stood on her shoulders. And to Charles Ogletree, the mighty Charles Ogletree, who I first met while protesting as a law student and just praying that I didn't get arrested because I knew that my parents were just, but protesting against apartheid in the 80s, Charles Ogletree, Reverend Jackson, Randall Robinson, Trans-Africa Forum. That's where I first met this legendary Charles Ogletree. And then as a practicing lawyer, when I was a partner at Washington and Christian, we worked on a case together. When I was a partner later at Willie Gary's firm, we worked on a case together. Having my own law practice here in Atlanta, Georgia, 3 years ago, we were co-counsel on another case together. And of course, all the work that we've done over the past 32 years in representing Reverend Jesse Jackson, to Charles Ogletree, to Tree. I salute you because we all stand on your shoulders. And I'm so delighted to see you and Pam this evening. To all the prestigious judges, I've got to recognize Anna Blackburn-Rigsby. Oh my goodness. You talk about a trailblazing lawyer. When I was at Georgetown, she was at Howard, and someone who I've always admired. And I'm just delighted by just all that she's accomplished and all that she's doing. And I always say, keep on fighting. And then finally, Ben Crump. Ben Crump. I'm claiming Ben Crump because he's a past president of the National Bar Association, but I'm also claiming Ben Crump because I knew Ben when he was a sort of junior lawyer, more junior lawyer in practice in Florida when I was a partner at Willie Gary's office. He was a superstar back then. He probably was born a superstar. And I don't know if many of you know, he just got a $411 million verdict a couple days ago on an injury case. So in addition to the incredible social justice work he does, he's representing people all over, and he always has, and he just does a phenomenal job. So on behalf of the National Bar Association tonight, as we tackle 3 pandemics, which have been the focus of my administration, COVID-19, election suppression, and police brutality, I say to each and every one of you that we need to go back to our communities, leave no stones unturned, and protect the right to vote. That late Congressman John Lewis on March 2nd and Reverend Jesse Jackson and Congressman John Lewis's office in Atlanta spoke to me and gave me a clarion call that they asked that I repeat and implement and execute to Black lawyers. And they said this: we marched, we were beaten, we protested, and so many died so that we might have the right to vote. You must direct African-American lawyers to protect the right to vote, protect against election suppression. And so I will leave you with this thought. We've lost a great shero, Justice Ginsburg, who in her crushing dissent in Shelby versus Holder reprimanded, if you will, in my way of looking at it, the rest of the Supreme Court because of the holding in 2013 in that case. But she also did another thing. She showed us the roadmap and what election suppression looks like. And today, ladies and gentlemen, what we see is the result of that unfortunate opinion. And thank God for her crushing dissent, but that unfortunate opinion that basically dismantled piece by piece the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So our work is cut out for us. And so thank you for this magnificent program, and to our president, Tony Towns, because I'm still a member of the Washington Bar Association. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to everyone who had a hand in pulling this together.
Okay, we are now getting ready to move to another aspect of our program. But before we do that, if we were gathered together, I would say let's give a round of applause to that dream team of greeters. But since I can't say that, I would tell you, why don't you do a Zoom hand raise or a hand clap to that group? We're now moving to the Founders Lecture Program. We will have a musical selection. Followed by that, we will have the introduction of our lecturer, and that will be done by board member Akua Kapak. And then we hit the lecture. Thanks.
Tragedies are commonplace, all kinds of diseases. People are slipping away. The economy's down. People can't get enough pay. But as for me, all I can say is thank you, Lord. Tragedies are commonplace. All kinds of diseases. People are slipping away. The economy's down. People can't get enough pay. As for me, all I can say is thank you, Lord, for all you've done for me. Folks without homes, living out in the streets, and the drug habits, some say they just can't beat. Muggers and robbers, no place seems to be safe, but you've been my protection every step of the way. I want to say thank you, Lord, for all you've done for me. Yeah, 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 it could have been me. Thank you. Outdoors. Thank you. With no food. Thank you. And no clothes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Akua Kopik. I'm a Washington Bar Association board member, and it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote lecturer for the evening. Our keynote lecturer came into this world as a son who experienced growing up in public housing complexes in Lumberton, North Carolina. You'll hear him say all the time, I'm just a country boy from North Carolina. He watched his mother work 2 jobs, got free lunches, and was bused for a better education. He saw economic injustice at a very early age. Then he became a college student and a law student on the journey to fighting racial, social, and economic injustice in this world. Then he became an attorney and a fierce advocate. Based in Tallahassee, Florida, he represents personal injury cases, civil rights cases when it was not popular and still dangerous. He's president of the National Civil Rights Trial Lawyers Association, 73rd president of the National Bar Association, first African-American president, African-American to chair the Florida State University College of Law Board of Directors. He serves on the Innocence Project Board of Directors, and he is the founder and director of the Benjamin Crump Social Justice Institute and hosts an annual Contemporary Issues and Civil Rights Symposium. Attorney Crump's fight for justice gained him newfound recognition in the entertainment field and the media arena, where he either hosted or made appearances on a number of television shows and movies, and he used this platform to continue to shine light on the injustices that he fights on a daily basis. Evidence of Innocence on TV1, Who Killed Tupac, The Search for Justice on A&E, and he even made an appearance in Marshall as legendary civil rights attorney Alexander Luby. As a fierce advocate, he represents clients in some of the most high-profile cases that we all have heard of. Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Stephon Clark, the residents of Flint, Michigan, who have been poisoned by the water, 9 of the 13 Black women victims of the Holtzclaw, Oklahoma City police rape case, and he was involved in a precedent-setting U.S. Supreme Court case involving excessive force against Robbie Tolan, a young man. We all know him more recently for his representation of the families of Breonna Taylor and the record $12 million settlement from the city and police reform. And we all know him as representing members of the George Floyd family. And now we have the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act for a lot of the things that are being done. Ben Crump his advocacy has led to legislation that's preventing excessive force and developing implicit bias and training policy. He is the founder and principal owner of Ben Crump Law, with offices in Florida, Georgia, California, Illinois, Washington, D.C., and Texas.